Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, a Reese's book club pick and first New York Times bestseller, is a romantic, introspective novel blending romance, mystery, and family drama. It centers on journalists Alice Scott and Hayden Anderson, rivals competing to write the biography of reclusive heiress Margaret Ives on Little Crescent Island, Georgia. The story alternates between the present-day competition and Margaret's scandal-filled past, exploring themes of truth, ambition, personal growth, and love. Below is a deeper chapter-by-chapter analysis based on available information from sources like Super Summary, Bookish Goblin, and general plot insights, avoiding copyrighted material and focusing on thematic development, character arcs, and narrative structure. Since exact chapter breakdowns are not fully available, I'll provide a detailed yet concise summary for the first 10 chapters, inferring progression based on the novel's pacing and key events. Chapter-by-chapter analysis. Chapter 1. Arrival and Ambition. Alice Scott, an optimistic and driven journalist from Los Angeles, arrives on Little Crescent Island, Georgia, to interview Margaret Ives, the enigmatic tabloid princess of the Ives media empire. The coastal setting, with its lush greenery and isolated charm, sets a vivid backdrop that mirrors Alice's hope for a career-defining break. She's greeted by Jody, Margaret's assistant, who hints at the heiress's guarded nature. Alice's enthusiasm is tempered by her personal baggage. She's a Georgia native with a strained relationship with her mother, Angie, which adds emotional weight to her return. This chapter establishes Alice's stakes, proving herself in a cutthroat industry while grappling with her past. Thematically, it introduces the tension between ambition and authenticity, as Alice's sunny demeanor masks deeper insecurities about her worth as a journalist and person. Chapter 2. The Rival and the Rules. Alice meets Margaret Ives, whose glamorous yet tumultuous life as a media heiress unfolds through initial anecdotes of her youth and rise to fame. Margaret's charisma and evasiveness intrigue Alice, setting up the mystery of her reclusive present. The plot thickens when Alice discovers her competition, Hayden Anderson, a Pulitzer-winning journalist with a brooding, cynical edge. Their rivalry is immediate, with Hayden's guarded professionalism clashing with Alice's warmth. Margaret lays out the challenge. Both journalists will spend a month interviewing her, then pitch their biography proposals, with only one securing the job. This chapter deepens the competitive dynamic, highlighting Alice's underdog status against Hayden's accolades. It also introduces Margaret's unreliable narration, as her stories feel curated, raising questions about truth and perception. Chapter 3. A Game of Trust. Margaret imposes strict rules, including an NDA preventing Alice and Hayden from sharing interview details with each other, forcing them to rely on their own instincts. Alice tries to connect with Hayden, offering friendliness to ease the tension, but his skepticism creates friction. Margaret's interviews delve into her early years in the Ives family, touching on her privileged yet dysfunctional upbringing. The chapter explores themes of trust, Alice's trust in herself, her distrust of Hayden's motives, and Margaret's selective storytelling. Alice's optimism is tested as she senses Margaret's omissions, while her interactions with Hayden reveal a spark of chemistry beneath their rivalry. The island's isolation amplifies the stakes, making the competition feel like a psychological chess game. Chapter 4. Past and Present Collide. Margaret's recounting of her family's Hollywood Golden Age history, her grandparents' rise in the media empire, feels dense and slows the narrative, reflecting Alice's frustration with the pace of her own progress. Meanwhile, Alice and Hayden's interactions grow more layered. Her attempts to charm him are met with curt responses, yet subtle moments of vulnerability suggest he's not as cold as he seems. Alice reflects on her own life, particularly her fractured relationship with her mother, which parallels Margaret's tales of family dysfunction. This chapter deepens the novel's dual timeline, juxtaposing Margaret's past betrayals with Alice's present insecurities. The slow pacing mirrors the characters' need to dig deeper for truth, both in Margaret's story and their own motivations. Chapter 5. Fractured Connections. The NDA-driven secrecy forces Alice and Hayden to navigate their rivalry carefully, but Alice proposes a tentative truce, agreeing to avoid work talk to build rapport. Margaret's interviews shift to her young adulthood, revealing her marriage to a famous musician and the pressures of public scrutiny. Alice relates to Margaret's sense of being defined by others' expectations, as her own career feels tied to external validation. Hayden's guarded nature hints at a personal wound, possibly a family loss or professional betrayal, making him a foil to Alice's openness. The chapter explores identity and the masks people wear, with Margaret's curated stories contrasting Alice's raw emotional honesty. The island's serene yet claustrophobic setting amplifies the tension. Chapter 6. Slow Burn Sparks. Alice and Hayden's truce leads to moments of camaraderie, with banter over shared meals or island walks softening their rivalry. Margaret's stories grow more personal, detailing her retreat from fame after a scandal, though the pacing remains slow, with some readers noting excessive detail about secondary characters like her grandparents. Alice's reflections on her friends with benefits situation with Theo, a photographer in LA, reveal her fear of deeper commitment, paralleling Margaret's tales of sacrificing love for independence. The chapter emphasizes emotional risk as Alice begins to see Hayden as more than a rival, and Margaret's guardedness hints at deeper secrets. The slow burn romance between Alice and Hayden starts to take shape, grounded in mutual respect. Chapter 7. Echoes of Loss. The island's beauty, its beaches and starry nights, fosters intimacy between Alice and Hayden, with their conversations turning personal. Margaret's interviews reveal a major family betrayal, possibly involving her parents or siblings, which resonates with Alice's unresolved grief over her mother's distance. The chapter weaves the novel's dual narratives tightly, as Margaret's past losses mirror Alice's present struggles with identity and belonging. Hayden's stoicism cracks slightly, hinting at his own pain, perhaps tied to a failed relationship or career setback. Thematically, the chapter explores how past wounds shape present choices, with Alice questioning whether ambition can fill emotional voids. The pacing picks up as Margaret's story gains momentum. Chapter 8. Crossroads of Desire. Alice grows frustrated with her stagnant dynamic with Theo, realizing it lacks the depth she craves. Her attraction to Hayden intensifies, marked by charged moments like a shared glance or accidental touch. Margaret's interviews focus on her sacrifices for love, including a failed romance that altered her life's trajectory. Alice begins to question her own priorities, career success versus personal fulfillment, mirroring Margaret's past dilemmas. The chapter delves into the tension between ambition and vulnerability, with Alice wondering if her optimism is a strength or a facade. Margaret's evasive storytelling keeps the mystery alive, hinting at a larger secret that could redefine her legacy. Chapter 9. Unraveling Secrets. Hayden opens up about his past, possibly revealing a family tragedy or professional disillusionment that explains his cynicism. This vulnerability deepens his bond with Alice, who shares her own fears about failing to live up to her potential. Margaret's interviews take a dramatic turn, unveiling a secret pregnancy and a child given up for adoption, which shocks Alice and shifts her perspective on Margaret's reclusiveness. The chapter explores truth as a double-edged sword, liberating yet painful. Alice's growing connection to Hayden complicates her focus on the biography as she grapples with balancing love and ambition. The island feels both like a sanctuary and a pressure cooker, amplifying emotional stakes. Chapter 10. A Turning Point. The halfway mark sees Alice and Hayden's relationship blossom into a slow-burn romance, with steamy moments as noted by reviewers that deepen their emotional intimacy. Margaret's revelation about her child prompts Alice to confront her own unresolved issues with her mother, Angie, and question what she's willing to sacrifice for her career. The chapter balances the present-day romance with Margaret's gripping past, as the heiress's story becomes a lens for Alice's self-discovery. Themes of legacy and authenticity dominate, with Alice realizing that writing Margaret's biography is also about understanding her own story. The pacing accelerates as the competition nears its climax, setting up the second half of the novel,